This is Christopher Sernaque hosting episode 8 of season 4 of the Current Topics in Science podcast. Don founded the Standing for Truth ministry. Standing for Truth has a team of 4, including Don, an engineer named George B., Professor David McQueen, a geologist and mineralogist, and Matt Naylor, who is a gerontologist, microscopist, author, lecturer, nutritionist, and diachronic linguist. Standing for Truth is a ministry dedicated to defending the truth of biblical creation. And on the Standing for Truth YouTube channel, you'll find over numerous interviews, formal and informal debates, all on engaging points on or in the origins debate. Don is the author of several books, and his current research with Matt Naylor is creating a model of biblical ancestry. You can find Don's website and his YouTube channel, Standing for Truth, in the description below. And with that being said, today we're going to be exploring what scientific evidences and presuppositions led Don to have both a change of mind and heart. And now, without further ado, good afternoon, Don. How was your day and how are you doing?
My day has been great, Christopher, brother, and I am doing very well. Thank you so much for having me on your show. It is a privilege to be joined with you today, as I have always enjoyed your interviews, and I greatly appreciate just how professional they are. You are really a fantastic host, brother, and thanks again. I'm really looking forward to this conversation.
Don, it's our pleasure to have you on Current Topics in Science. But since this is Current Topics in Science, we're going to quickly look at this week's current topic. Today we're going to be looking at an article from Rev Cycle Intelligence, the Extelligent Healthcare Media. This article is called Burnout, Stress, Fuel Nurse Staffing Shortage, Turnover Rates. Victoria Bailey, the article's author, says over a third of nurses plan to quit their current position by the end of 2022, citing burnout, stressful environments, and compensation as reasons for wanting to leave, according to a report from Incredible Health examining the nursing staffing shortage. The Nursing in the Time of COVID-19 report found that 34% of nurses reported that it is very likely that they will leave their job by the end of 2022. And almost half of the nurses, 44%, said that burnout and high-stress environments are the main factors behind their decisions. Over a quarter cited benefits and pay as reasons to leave. Don, as someone who was a registered practical nurse, can you tell us, what did you think about this article? And can you tell us about your own experiences as a registered practical nurse?
Absolutely. That's a fantastic question, Chris. Reading this article, I thought, you know what, this is exactly right. There's so much truth to what's being said here. And I worked as a nurse for roughly 6 years, with most of those years being full-time work. And I've had experience as a nurse in both the hospital and in the nursing home setting. And I must say, the career was very rewarding. And within 2 months of graduating, I already had 2 nursing jobs, and eventually I was blessed with a full-time position at one of the nursing homes that I was working at. And for a time, I thought, okay, this is the perfect career. I'm definitely going to be doing this for the rest of my life. And I experienced many blessings, in this career. I met my wife there, and it was during my years as a nurse that I got saved and actually became a born-again believer. That being said, though, I eventually ran into exactly what this article has put forth as reasons why nurses have been and continue. I believe they will continue to leave the profession. I've talked to a lot of my nursing friends over social media. They have left nursing, unfortunately, due to these very same reasons. And those reasons being burnout, stressful environments, and compensation for sure. You oftentimes feel very overworked. And these were the 3 major reasons why I personally left the profession. I also realized it's just not my passion. And I actually went back into the field of work I was doing prior to nursing, which was sales. I think it's my competitive nature, Chris, that drew me to sales, and eventually debating, as you put it in your introduction there. I've personally had close to 100 formal debates, and I've hosted about 170 professional formal debates. So I think it's that nature and the way God has worked in my life that eventually led me into what I'm doing now. And I will say, I eventually realized that it was more important to me, Chris, that I focus on my passion and devote myself to serving the Lord. This is something that I recognized, of course, after I was born again, after I became a believer. And I knew this would not be easy. I knew this would be a journey. This would be an adventure, but I was willing to put in the work, even if it meant working literally all day. and while I was, starting the channel and building it up into a ministry, I was also working 50, 60 hours a week in sales. So it was pretty much all day work, but I would say very much worth it to be able to now focus on my passion, which I'm sure we're going to touch on a little bit later. So, Christopher, such a great question. I could go on all day, brother, but I'll stop there.
Thank you so much for telling us about your experience as a registered practical nurse, Don. I think it's interesting that you and I, we're both part of creation organizations. We both host interviews, and we're both in the medical field in some capacity. And speaking of your experiences, you certainly know what it's like to change your worldview. Your bio on your website, Standing for Truth, says, Donny received his diploma in nursing and worked for many years as a registered practical nurse. As a student, and while working as a full-time RPN, he became fascinated with biology, health, the cause of disease, and the incredible complexity of life. Because of education and career, he was able to build a foundation for his future dedication to the creation versus evolution debate. Having a strong passion for science and devoting himself to these studies eventually led him to Christianity and young earth creation. So Don, it sounds like you're saying that at one point in your life, not only did you not hold to young earth creation, but you also didn't consider yourself to be a Christian. Can you tell us what your life was like when you weren't a Christian, about your conversion to Christianity and belief in a young earth?
Absolutely. Again, another fantastic question, Christopher, brother. This is already a ton of fun, and I greatly appreciate it. I'm telling you, we're going to be here all day. I grew up Catholic, and so, that I am happy to say I was never an atheist. And I've always found atheism to be an absurd and indefensible position. To me, that was just completely off of the table. Even growing up as a Catholic, going to a grade school that was Catholic, a high school that was Catholic, and oftentimes going to mass. And even growing up as a Catholic, I was fascinated by all the evidence for design, fine tuning, and strong evidence for a creator. Take this one, for example, just a slight rabbit trail, brother. Living organisms, right? They have an astonishingly complex information storage system. Even the simplest of living cells, for example, the mycoplasma, has 500 letters of DNA information. And these letters and this information codes for proteins. Now, how does this apply to atheism and naturalism, which I even rejected as a Catholic? Well, it turns out that you cannot decode the information in DNA unless you have highly complex decoding machinery. DNA has the instructions to build its own coding machinery. And so the question is, Chris, for those who hold to naturalism, which came first? The machinery, right? But how do you get the machinery without the instructions? Or did the instructions come first? But wait a minute, you cannot read those instructions unless you have the machinery to read it. And so without everything working together right from the start, life could not exist. And this is just one of the many, many insurmountable chicken and egg problems that exist in all types of origin of life and naturalistic scenarios and hypotheses. Now, I know that was a bit of a rabbit trail, but I thought it would be important, especially and interesting for the audience. But I will say, I did believe in evolution during college. As I studied the basics of it in the various biology courses I was required to take in college. And I was actually quite fascinated with it, especially human evolution. I kind of gravitated towards that specifically. And probably because it has to do with the origins of us as humans, right? The question of where we came from, why are we here, what is our purpose?